Hello, and welcome to another edition of Coffee Talk with attorney Brian D. Lerner. In this particular episode, I'd like to talk about the Affidavit of Small Estate. What is it? When can you use it? Why would you want to use it? Well, as anybody who's ever been through either a probate or a trust administration knows, it takes a very long time in which to do anything. Okay, if you have to go to probate, it's necessary to prepare the probate papers to get the court case opened. There's 30 different things you have to do in which to properly get the probate administered. You have to get all kinds of orders from the judge as to who gets what, distribute from whomever, declarations and so forth. If you're doing the trust administration, while it doesn't involve a probate and clearly is more preferred than going to probate, trust administration itself takes time. There's the division of all the property. There's the finding out who owes what, the value of the property, following the declaration of trust to make sure that everything is properly divided. If you're represented by attorneys, then the attorneys going back and forth and negotiating and so forth. So if there was a way in which to get a distribution easier, of course you would take it, right? Well, let's say, for example, there's a bank account, okay, and the original settler died, and so now you're wanting to get, let's say there's $30,000 or $20,000 in some bank account somewhere, and you don't want to have to go through the expense of opening a probate, or let's say there was no living trust, there was no will, there was no trust, so forth. How can you get that money without having to start formal proceedings? Well, you can do what's called a small affidavit of estate, okay? And what this basically is if the value of the estate is less than $150,000, then you can prepare the proper declarations along with the various certificates. You send it in, and voila, the bank should distribute the money. And I'm using the bank as an example, but there's lots of different entities that might be holding property in order to get it distributed, that you can use the small affidavit of estate. Now keep in mind, you can whether there's a trust administration or not. Okay, so the issue becomes when it says $150,000, and if that's the value of the estate, and if it's more than that, you can't use a small affidavit of estate. What happens if you own any property? And we're talking about California here, so as most of you know, the property in California is worth much more than in most other parts of the country. For $150,000, you'd be lucky to get a bathroom. Okay, so the issue then is, how can you still use a small affidavit of estate if you own any real property at all, or if the original settler owns any property at all? And well, one of the ways is how it is determined what is the value of the estate. Well, there's basically some law out there that says if property was moved into a revocable trust, okay, that property that's in the revocable trust is not calculated towards the $150,000 of the total estate. So if, for example, you had a house and it was worth $650,000, and when I say you, I mean the person who made the living trust in the first place, or who made this document in the first place, what happens is, if it's done properly, they take that property, which is worth $650,000, they create a new deed, they transfer the deed to the name of the living trust, and then they record it at the recorder's office. They file the preliminary change of ownership report, and then what happens is that property even though it's worth way more than $150,000, is not considered as part of the estate. Also, you can move personal property into the living trust as well. There might be lots of different bank accounts or other types of accounts that are moved into the name of the investment accounts that are moved into the name of the living trust, and as long as the living trust is revocable, then it cannot be considered as part of the small affidavit of estate as part of the value. So if in fact you have some property that you need to attach at a certain point and need to get it, and don't want to go through all the living trust and or trust administration and or probate matters, you might very well be able to do the small affidavit of estate. So be sure, give me a call. I give initial free consultation. I have offices in Long Beach and Los Angeles. If you like the video, click like and subscribe, and there's more on the coming videos.